Hey Leah, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good?
Good. Right. Okay, you've got the questions, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Um,
So obviously this is our joint interview conversation for VMC Fest. Ours is together because we live together.
really look forward to the VMC Fest actually. It's
Yeah.
so more hyped for it. Like now we've got everything in place,
Yeah, me too actually.
and I think people will really enjoy it.
I think so, especially with this current situation and with everyone being, in lockdown again. We didn't actually preempt that planning this, did we, initially?
No,
So
not at all. But I think we've adapted really well in terms of like what it is we're going to do, and after doing like loads of research for one of our modules, it appears that online streaming seems to be the way forward.
it's the way everything's going now, isn't it? Especially with like award ceremonies, and Miley Cyrus has done that MTV Unplugged, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's brilliant.
It was all pre-recorded and all of that. So yeah, it just seems to be the way that the industry's going.
Yeah.
Online gigs. So
How's it going to look when COVID's finished though? Like, are people going to be able to get back into the swing of going to an online gig? Because I used to like just going out to a pub and having a beer and listening to whatever band's playing. I wouldn't go out specifically to see a band other than if it was you guys, but
yeah. I don't know, but I think we're all adapting really well to this circumstance.
yeah.
And seeing how it is. But
It's a great test for us as like musicians. Like, this is the first time we've ever been put in this situation. We've all gigged at pubs and clubs and whatever, but never done like a online event. And there was lots of that going on throughout the first lockdown.
yeah.
Of musicians trying to adapt as a way to sort of get money and stuff and still earn a living.
Yeah.
And plus, we don't know how long this COVID's going to last for.
No. Well, exactly.
It's not just going to go away, is it?
No, of course not.
What is it you're doing for your event?
You know what we're doing.
Oh, you didn't want me to ask that.
So obviously, me and my band, Emeline, we're playing a set. But we've already played it actually, we've already recorded it. Which went well, I think. It was strange not having an audience there. It was an odd.
Well, even with the cameras, like, did it not feel like you were on TV? Because they were like quite professional looking cameras as well.
But then again, I do think a TV audience is probably different to a live gig audience at the underground or whatever. It's a whole different scenario, isn't it? It's very, I know I've not been on TV, but it's very strange. Like Hector was saying, because he did like a TV thing, didn't he, in Brazil? And
Yeah.
it's still quite, with a TV audience, you're just sat down, aren't you?
Yeah.
There's no getting up and dancing and interacting with the band. So yeah, it was strange. It was really weird. But I'm glad that we are adapting to the current circumstances, and we've done everything we can to be a part of it, to be a part of this whole like virtual movement.
Did you find that you were still able to perform in the same manner as you would if you were actually at a venue with an audience, or could you feel the lack of presence from people? Hello, Jazz.
Oh, hi. Sorry. That's okay. I was able to. I think we were all able to because of that element of trying to be professional. But you could feel the lack of audience. There was no, to really bounce off. Apart from that, you guys were obviously behind a glass screen in the studio, and then there's like just the three guys from 120 Media. It's not to go off, and it really made me realise how much you do bounce off the audience and their energy, and how much that affects you as a performer. Because there's always this kind of element of trying to win them over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you'd be able to like gauge their reactions as to whether they're enjoying the music, or you wouldn't have somebody there saying, "Play some Oasis." Like,
No, exactly.
Which hecklers do add to
the
atmosphere.
They do.
I kind of compare it to like football matches. Like I watched a football match last night, and there was no audience, obviously because of this COVID thing, and it does affect the way that the players play. So I can imagine it's exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean,
for like a
it
band.
is, isn't it? How do you think it affected them also much?
Well, you don't have like the chanting and the singing along and the when a player's getting close to the goal, like as they're about to do it, like there's just no vibe. I love that word, vibe.
That's it, isn't it? It's just vibes.
Yeah.
It's just vibes. So in terms of your project as Music One Night, what are you doing for it?
So the lockdown hasn't really affected me because my music isn't really performed.
Yeah.
It's pre-recorded, obviously. Writing music to film, so my music is kind of a secondary element to something. So what I'm going to be doing is a video telling the story of Plymouth through the visual media. So we'll start off with like the Welcome to Plymouth sign, and then just look at the various different landmarks of Plymouth. There's going to be a really beautiful scene where up on Plymouth Hill you've got the War Memorial, and that's really going to give me the opportunity to write some nice stuff. You know me, I'm a sucker for strings and choir, and that is perfect for that.
That would be awesome. That would be really cool.
But it's the other things like Plymouth Argyle, which is a Plymouth landmark, something that boosts the economy here. I'm thinking like more sort of electronic music, and I don't know if I've mentioned it, but Hans Zimmer is a huge inspiration, and he's really good at making electronic music with orchestrated sounds, which is exactly my cup of tea.
Gosh, this is going to be so exciting, I think. How long is it again?
It's going to be about 30 minutes, so it probably won't be 30 minutes of music. Obviously, it will be the film telling the story, the music will accompany it to inject the emotion in people or the hype for a certain place.
Yeah.
And it is all new to me because I used to, as you know, I used to do rap, and this will be the first sort of time I've written something specifically to a film this long.
Yeah, this is a big project, isn't it? And you've had a lot on as well. How are you finding inspiration actually when it comes to? Because obviously you've got your direct source, your primary source with this, Plymouth film. So there's that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just find with me, even when I've got like with the way that me and Reagan write, and he'll send me a track, and I won't right away be able to buzz off that. And sometimes I will and write something, but sometimes it can take a while to really feel the energy of that primary source. How are you finding writing for it at the minute?
With the Plymouth film, I think it's a bit easier because I know the city. But one of the latest projects I did, I worked with no inspiration. It was working to a script for a scene for a film called Black, White and Blood. And actually, the end product turned out like better than it probably would have if I had inspiration. I had an idea of where I wanted to go with it, so I'm hoping that actually the scenes of Plymouth will sort of guide me into what type of thing I want to write.
Yeah, you've definitely got a really strong source of inspiration there, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's not just the bones of something, it's a
yeah.
project, which I suppose is the advantage to writing something like film.
And I've had the time to prepare for it as well. I've had footage for a while, and it's all really, really good stuff. And I think coming from Plymouth as well, I'm able to, I'll use the War Memorial as an example again, but I'm able to identify the impact that particular place has on people. So I'm able to realise what sort of music I need to write. Obviously, something like Happy Birthday wouldn't work with that particular scene. I know that, so it's like I'd really like to incorporate some like Foley sounds in the background, like of bombs exploding and
that
stuff.
Would be cool.
Like, and just pay a bit of a tribute to the people that lost their lives.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a reason to be doing it, but that isn't just the primary focus. Like, you've got things like the old Palace Theatre, which is used to then be Dance Academy and nightclub. So I'm going to try and take that and sort of write the piece of music for that scene from the terms of it being the old Palace Theatre, so maybe like look at some older sounding music to when it used to be Dance Academy to and just incorporate that but with like some more orchestral theme.
That's so cool. You've got so much to work off, haven't you? That
Yeah.
It'll flow really, really well.
Really looking forward to starting to do it.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun, and like I said, it's going to be my first sort of major project after moving along to this.
Yeah. Gosh, it's exciting.
What about you? What was your favourite song that you performed, because you've recorded yours?
Yes. I enjoyed Faces, which is on our EP actually. Just putting that
Adore.
out there. Adore, yeah. Faces was fun. I think like it would be the stereotypical thing to say, but I did really enjoy performing Adore actually, because that has got a new energy to it. I think since we know, obviously it was on BBC Introduced In, and it's actually, we know that people enjoy that song.
It wasn't just on BBC Introduced, and it was favourite find of the week on BBC Introduced, and we've got to put that out there.
Yeah, it was.
And it's also for me as a listener of your stuff, I felt like Adore was like the band's glue, like this is our sound, like it was the finding of your guys.
It's not really.
No,
because how do you feel after? Because you obviously haven't heard us for ages.
No.
A lot of our other songs are heavier, aren't they?
Yes.
Like, it's not. Adore is probably the least song that's representative of our actual sound. It's the most commercial song, I would say.
I think maybe that's what I was going for. It's definitely one that you have released it as a single.
Yeah.
But one that you could hear in the charts.
Oh, thank you.
Like it's just really well structured, and it's just a nice song, beautiful lyrics. I've always admired your songwriting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. No, I did enjoy that song, even though obviously we didn't have the audience there. It was just like the three guys from 120 Media and you guys in the studio. Knowing that and knowing what it now, because it's taken on a whole different meaning. Like for us before, it was just like, oh, it's our soft song, it's our soft like indie song,
yeah,
and we just kind of bop around to it. And knowing that other people like it and having that energy with it, it's taken on a new meaning, and it felt really special just to be able to do it with something that, even just performing to a camera, we've only been able to just practice a few times, through all of this year. And so that's
hard to get everybody together with A, lockdown, but B, the worry of COVID.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get is that obviously we don't have an audience when we practice, we just practice for us.
Yeah.
So to have that feeling again of being a performer, like, oh shit, we're being filmed.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, right, people are going to watch this, people do like the song Adore, let's try and just kind of give it our all.
Yeah.
It was, that was really, it's good. It's fun.
You could definitely tell that you guys gave it your all on that song.
Oh.
Like, it's just really good. It's the song that you guys sound the most confident on, but like you said, I haven't listened to you guys perform as much, but that song was about a lot when you first released it. Like,
yeah.
So I knew the meaning behind it, and yeah, I just love the song, and I think everybody who watches that particular song and the performance will feel the same.
I hope so. I don't know how, obviously, I don't know how it's turned out, but I hope it.
How does it feel for you going from like the writing process of writing a song to the final product? How does it make you feel when it comes out as good as something as Adore and Faces? And one of my favourites was Parasite, but that was purely because of the lyrics, just very clever.
Thank you. That's an interesting one, because I don't know if you ever think. I do love that feeling when you know you've written a good song, but it's kind of like we talk about when we hand in our work, is that 2-second dopamine rush, and then it's like, right, on to the next thing.
Yeah.
It is just very like that, unfortunately. And then after that, you kind of become a bit disconnected from what you've written until every time that you perform it and you're kind of connecting with it again. For something like Parasite, obviously, there's a double meaning for that. It's about a person and the effect they were having on me at a certain time in my life, and addiction, and it's a double meaning. And that will always be relevant in a certain way.
Yeah.
But can I get the energy that I had when I first wrote that? No, not necessarily the same feeling. I can replicate the same energy because it's just a replication over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But the same feeling, probably not, because I'm, not in that time. So I don't know. It's just a strange process. You become slowly more and more detached from your songs, but they do take on this other meaning because obviously other people enjoy them, which is all the more reason to carry on doing it, really. But you're always kind of chasing that dopamine rush of, I'm going to write a really good song,
I thought it was amazing when you guys premiered Adore through BBC Introducing and obviously Spotify, and then as soon as the presenter on BBC Introducing said, "Oh, and this is our favourite final of the week," like you could just see like everybody getting excited, and it was really nice to be part of that because we were obviously tuned into the show.
Yeah.
And that was great, and that must be an amazing feeling because obviously when you first started writing the song, you wouldn't have expected, oh, this is going to be favourite final of the week. You wrote the song because this is how I'm feeling at the moment, this is what I want to write about. And then to get such a positive, and you've had amazing reviews for that particular track as well, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's a good feeling. It's that sort of external validation because your friends and your family are always going to be like, oh, I really like your music.
Yeah.
So to have other people that don't need to say that, or they don't have to, and say, this music is good, is like, wow, okay, maybe we are on to something, maybe we are on a right track with what we're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. So you're excited for the event and people seeing what?
I think so. Yeah, because we had so much planned for this year.
Yeah.
Gig wise, I mean, obviously there's a lot of musicians did.
It's a shame, isn't it?
But I'm just glad that we have managed to adapt in terms of our EP is obviously acoustics. And now we're part of this event, so I think we've managed to adapt really well. This is a big thing for you, actually, isn't it? This is your first big project.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I wrote some music which is available on my website, night.co.uk, to a comic, but a comic is very like static, and I could go back and like edit bits and change bits. Whereas I feel with, especially this Plymouth film, I feel like you've got to go with your first feeling. You can't overthink it because that's when it then becomes complicated, and that's when it doesn't sound as good. But I think from a performance level, I do miss the opportunity of being able to perform something, but it's not what I want to do. Maybe if I ever get to the place of Hans Zimmer, I'll be able to perform with an orchestra. But like you said the other day, I don't have an orchestra just stored in my closet ready to go. It's all done inside the box. But I really like that process. I like just being in the bubble and going, right, this is. But sometimes it does put a bit of unnecessary pressure on, as it would with any musician, because you kind of think, right, I've got to get it right the first time, or people won't enjoy it, and because there will only be one film, whereas obviously for a band, they have multiple performances that they can work on to get right. So I feel like I've got to get it right the first time. I know a band's got to get their songs right and sounding good, but they've got the opportunity to continue working on their performances, whereas...
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just, because obviously you would record an album and you only get that performance to it, actually, but at the same time, like you say, you do have multiple opportunities to make that, whereas this is your only performance of this music. Unless you were to somehow decide to do a showcase or another showcase or whatever. This is the big...
I'd really like to send it to Plymouth City Council when it's done, because it will be showcased in Plymouth, and it'll be done by somebody who lives in Plymouth, a student, which, people are sucker for students doing things for free. Like.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be a really good idea.
And, they can maybe use it as a promotional tool, because it's going to be highlighting all the nice parts of Plymouth, not Well, not that there's any bad parts in Plymouth, but
yeah, but it's the landmarks. It's it's the things that are most important. Oh, probably still recording.
Probably still recording.
The light's on. Yeah.
Ah, cool.
So, do you think that this project is showcasing your most authentic self?
Yes, 100%. I think out of all the projects, it's given me the opportunity to do that because, again, it's Plymouth. I'm from Plymouth. It's a subject that I've specifically chosen rather than being commissioned to write. Whereas the film that I'm working with the media students, it's going to be very much it's their idea. They've
tailored
got
to a brief.
Yeah, that's it. It's tailored to a brief. Whereas I've created my own brief with the Plymouth idea.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't shoot footage. My dad very kindly shot the footage, but he had the idea. He's from Plymouth as well. He had the ideas, and he kept saying, "Oh, what about this landmark? What sort of music would you write to this?" And was really getting me thinking about it sort of before I started the recording process. It would just be about choosing things like the instruments I want to use. So during my research, I looked very heavily into the Game of Thrones soundtrack. I proper love Game of Thrones, especially the music. But there is actually a lot of elements that I didn't consider within film music, such as because Game of Thrones is set in the sort of 15th century, the composer Ramin Djawadi actually picked instruments that were around that time.
Oh, wow.
To use in the music, even though as a normal listener you probably wouldn't be able to pick up on that, but it does add to the authenticity of the scene. So it's like where I work with strings and cellos and choir, that's not always going to be throughout the film. I'm going to try it a different way where I'll try and choose instruments around the times that specific landmarks were made. Like for example, you've got Devonport. Devonport's got a huge history to it. It'd be nice to choose some instruments and tonalities of instruments that are around that time. I didn't actually know that pianos didn't sort of adopt like a modern tonality until around the 19th or early 20th century. Okay. Like the piano sound we hear today is very like 20th century.
Yeah.
I thought a piano was just a piano.
Yeah.
So this will give me the opportunity to do something based on everything that I've researched, and this will be the proper Kickstarter of what it is I want to do. And
it is a passion project, isn't it? Like you say, because you've thought about this, you get to choose what you're writing to. This will be a really good outlet, I think, for your energy.
Yeah, I could have stuck with the rap stuff, but I mean, there's lots of people doing it, and I feel like rap is very personal, and I wouldn't have been able to showcase myself at my best by doing rap. Whereas this will allow me to showcase what my actual passion, not just for the sake of doing it.
Exactly.
It will have all those elements. How about you? Does this performance that you've done showcase you guys in your most authentic form? I know we've discussed a little bit about not being able to perform in front of an audience and stuff, but
I think that really does come into it, because really it's a yes and a no. It's as authentic as you're going to get within this time and within this circumstance. And there are some new songs on there as well, which we, whenever you're performing new songs, it's all really enjoyable. So I'm really excited because it is about where you are right now and where you've been at the minute. And a lot of our old songs, some of them are 2 years old now, so to perform them, it's not as it's just not as authentic. Still fun, but
like you said, they don't have the same meanings for you now as they did when you were first writing them.
No, it's more of a nostalgia thing. So I think, it just very much showcases where we are right now within this circumstance, adapting to these situations. And obviously we know that in terms of people that do enjoy our music and would come to to our gigs, this is going to be the only chance that they're going to get at the minute to be able to see that. So we really give it our all. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Do you think people are going to be able to absorb the music better through being in the comfort of their own home and knowing that they're safe from this pandemic?
Maybe, I think that will very much depend on their viewpoint, but I do think it'll be, you know, you won't be going out with that anxiety kind of thing, depending on your viewpoint. But yeah, overall, I think it should be really good.
Really look forward to people hearing what it is we've put together and how we've come together collectively to put on this event. It's really cool. It's something that's not really been done around the southwest area.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially something as collaborative as this. What I also like about us sort of living together is the fact that we have introduced each other to so many genres of music and developed this appreciation for different genres of music. I feel like some of it has influenced me, maybe not so much the music, but like the stories behind it. So you talked about Miley Cyrus earlier. She proper resonated with me because of her growth, and I feel like we ourselves have done that as musicians, and we kind of mirror her a little bit in terms of like where she's come from to where she is now. That's obviously where we're heading.
Yeah.
Yeah.